The views and opinions expressed within the following program are solely those of the individual. These views and opinions do not necessarily represent those of Shaw TV.
Hey Calgary, I'm Kevin Chorney. It's October 24th, and this is Calgary Now. For many city dwellers, the images of lush orchards, bountiful gardens, and abundant harvests are far removed from the everyday hustle and bustle of city living. Farmers markets are relatively commonplace nowadays, but unless you grew up on a farm, gardening practices are generally left to those who have a bit more time on their hands to get down and dirty with the weeds, or so most of us think. Urban agriculture, or permaculture, is on the rise. Along with community gardens popping up in neighborhoods around the city, urban forests and permaculture gardens are being planted on commercial property and private homes alike. With food scarcity becoming a real global issue, many are looking at manicured lawns and open spaces in an innovative way to garden sustainably and provide fresh produce for everyone. These permaculture spaces are caring for and utilizing the earth effectively, strengthening communities and feeding us. Is this a local solution to a global problem? And if so, how do more communities get involved? Take a moment and think about your community. Do you know your neighbors by their first names? Are you building camaraderie and strengthening your community? For many Calgarians, for a variety of reasons, the answer is no. Permaculture, practitioners, and the urban agriculture movement aim to change that, though, through, you guessed it, sustainable, delicious, organic local food. Because, let's be honest, nothing brings people together quite like food. Whatever the motivation, as of late, Calgary has witnessed the rise of urban agriculture, the benefits of which are undeniable. From free produce for Calgary's impoverished to local premium ingredients found in area restaurants and farmers markets, word is getting out about permaculture and the positive role it can play in our city's future. I'm sitting down with a few of Calgary's forward-thinking urban farmers in just a second here. If you want to get involved in the discussion, get at us on Twitter at Calgary Now Show. Stay with us. Hey Calgary, thanks for joining us. Tonight on the show is Kim Chi of Giggling Chi Tree, Luke Kimmel of the Leaf Ninjas, and Paul Hughes is back representing Grow Calgary. Guys, thanks a lot for being here. I'll start with you, Luke. Real quick, tell me about Leaf Ninjas.
Sure. Leaf Ninjas is a team of 4 friends, including myself. And we got 2 aspects to our business. We run a small-scale urban farm in Inglewood and Ramsey, basically on borrowed land, that we just provide those landowners veggies in exchange for use of their land. And then the other aspect of our business is an edible landscaping design and installation company, where we help people cultivate their vision of paradise, food oases in their backyard. I want to learn all about this. We'll get to it. That's awesome. Thanks for being here. Eh? Yeah, thank you.
Kim, tell me about the Giggling Chi Tree.
Sure. So I focus on 3 different things. So I say ecological design, which is essentially permaculture design, regenerative creation, which is more focusing into art and looking at building things that are not only useful and functional, but that are also regenerating our earth. And then creative education. So I work with educating anywhere from children through to adults, and just focusing on dynamic and experiential education with all of those types of people.
Sweet. That's great. Thanks. Paul, you're back, and you're back with something new. Tell us about Grow Calgary.
Grow Calgary is a project on the transportation utility corridor using the unused land. There's 11,000 acres of it around Calgary, and we've got an 11-acre parcel out by Canada Olympic Park, and we're growing food exclusively for the Calgary Food Bank.
You know what? Congratulations on that, and thanks very much. I think that's huge, man. That's wicked good for you guys, you know?
Yeah, having a lot of fun.
Yeah, I imagine you are.
Like these guys too.
It's the whole thing, the whole scene is such a good cause. The buzzword, though, the big buzzword is permaculture. Luke, can you tell me, how do you define permaculture?
Sure. Permaculture, it's basically a design system for designing sustainable human habitat. So it takes an integrated look at food systems, waste, water, energy, shelter, and how can we create a sustainable system with all those elements connected.
Cool. So why are so many people seemingly, catching interest in permaculture nowadays? It seems to really be growing, no?
Definitely.
Yeah.
What are those factors, and why is that?
I think that one of the key reasons is that we're seeing a lot of problems in our world, and people are, really starting to wake up to a lot of these challenges and issues that are happening in the world, and permaculture is bringing a lot of answers. And it's really about us reintegrating ourselves back into the environment and getting reconnected again. And that kind of helps us to, you know, look at the way that nature is doing things and then help us to solve the problems in our own lives. Yeah.
And it is, it can grow to a lifestyle in itself, can it not? Permaculture. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's taking a lot of the things that we currently, say, buy at a store or provided through utility companies or whatever, and we're finding ways of how we can bring those into a home scale system. So it's about engaging with your environment and creating meaningful connections and getting a benefit from it.
Yeah, a lot of it's about community. I imagine you'd probably agree, Paul. Is it to the point, you think, where is the community aspect of it more important than maybe even the food itself?
Probably neck and neck.
Yeah.
And you know, from the community will grow its food. The permaculture community in Calgary is incredibly strong. They're very active. I'm not involved with the permaculture community formally, but I know.
I think urban
quite a
ag,
few
though,
people.
in general, would you not say? I mean, it seems to be that's sort of the underlying motivation for a lot of people who are involved in the urban.
Well, if you're going to do urban
motivation.
agriculture, I mean, the default is permaculture immediately.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where it's happening. That's where the action is, and that's what, like Kim says, that's where the answers are.
Kim, can you tell me a little bit about the area?
Sure.
This is an interesting project. I think maybe. Well, tell me, is it still running first and foremost?
No.
Okay,
So-
we'll touch on that in a second.
Yeah.
Go ahead and tell me about the area.
Okay, so the area is a multifaceted space for arts, recreation, education, and agriculture. So the idea is creating a community hub where anyone can come and gather and, you know, do things that they love to do. And so we were offering a space for people to come and do that. And the other side of it also was entrepreneurship as well. So offering an opportunity for young or new entrepreneurs to kind of build their businesses. So that's what I really did there,
Yeah.
was kind of build my business from the ground up, and a space that offered me a place to teach my courses, a place to run and host events, a place to bring other educators.
Right.
I'm also an artist, so to engage with art and engage with other artists, and then also get to know people and have the community come and gather, and doing it at a rate, like for example, we charged low rates for people
Yep.
to rent the venue. So if you were hosting a workshop, as a facilitator, you could afford to host your first workshop there regardless of attendance.
I think we've got a
So-
picture of the space. There it is there.
Yeah.
So maybe just briefly, that's a huge garden is what that is.
It is pretty big. It's a 1/4 acre lot, and so that's 50 meters in circumference. And that is a permaculture demonstration garden, and so it's all built on permaculture principles. It's got an underground irrigation system, so the pathways are also a water catchment system.
Cool.
And we built it so that it was accessible for all people. So the pathways are a little bit wider than in an average garden, about 3 feet or 1 meter wide.
Yeah, they look
so
at that.
wheelchair accessible.
Cool.
And then we used a lot of reused materials. So the cinder blocks were all donated to us that were waste stream materials. All of the logs came from a local arborist. Over 100 people engaged in creating this garden together.
Again, community.
Absolutely.
That's incredible. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Well, I think one of the things about the area too is that it's right in the middle of the urban environment.
That's right.
And it's spectacular in the sense that it was a gathering place for so many different things to happen within our community, and we really should. I really think the city has given them a bit of a hard time, and I really think the city should be embracing them and actually giving them medals.
Now it's
but
really-
instead, we're giving
yeah,
them a
it's
hard time,
super
and
hard to
we want to
argue
have
that.
we want to have 100
Yeah.
areas in this city.
And that's absolutely the message that I think needs to get out. What was the problem with the city with that space?
There's a few issues, mostly surrounding development permits, but right now the core issue is that they're trying to tell us that we need 7 bathrooms in order to host 100 people in the space. So it would cost us about $150,000 to upgrade our sewage and to get these bathrooms on site. So it's a bit of a strange thing, but that's kind of the core thing that's going on right now with us.
It's a code thing. It sounds
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, so the city's saying, yeah.
Ask me that question. This is how I'll respond
Sure.
to that.
By all means.
The problem is not with what the project that they did. There's no problem with that project. That is a completely functional project.
Sure,
The
looks
project's
like
on the city side, and the city has not kept pace with the developments that are happening with our citizens and with our corporations and the types of things that we want to involve ourselves with. And so the city is actually slow in the uptake of new concepts, new ideas, and we want to be a world-class city. And we are quite capable of it. And there are examples in the city where we are definitely world class. And I think the area is one of them. And unfortunately, the city was not able to fully comprehend the impact of a project like that and to accommodate what they required in order for them to be productive and efficient. And that's unfortunate that it defaulted to the city, having the final say on what was going on there, when in fact citizens, who the city represents the citizens, that they were not able to implement fully the project that they wanted to implement.
It's flat out poor representation, is it not? I mean, is that a bold statement, Link, or is that, do you think that's fair?
Well, I think it's a good thing to make bold statements about, really. That space has contributed positively to the lives of thousands of citizens in the city. And it's very sad to see that it may not be able to continue. So.
Yeah, and I imagine a lot of people are quite disappointed. Isn't there a happy medium? I mean, maybe, I'm just shooting in the dark here. Porta potties?
That's what we actually had before. We did have porta potties on site, but because we're a permanent structure, they've told us that we're not allowed, only for special event permitting. So yeah, it's been quite the challenge, and we're still working with the city, and we're trying really hard to try and come to a middle ground with them. We're not sure if it's going to happen, but it is one of those things where I think Paul is totally right about us needing to be more forward thinking. Like, I just came back from a Living the New Economy conference in Vancouver, and a gentleman, Mark Lakeman from Portland, who does a project called City Repair, was there speaking, and he has done over 45 of these intersection repair projects in Portland, the first one starting in 1995. And the whole idea is about building community, and they've seen it proven over and over and over and over again, how these providing a place for the community to gather, it lowers crime rates, it allows for the community to come together and become abundant and resilient, and it also makes it safer for the children in the neighborhood and offers them a place to come. So at the area, for example, where we are, since we've been shut down, our neighbors have been broken into, I think, 5 times since we've been shut down in April. And that wasn't happening when we were open, so because we had so many people gathering there all the time.
Did you ever get out to the area to see any events?
No,
Did you have a chance?
no, I haven't been out.
Anybody who went to any of those events, it was amazingly colorful and dynamic, and it's exactly what you want to see in an urban environment. That's what all of our PR talks about, having a dynamic urban environment, and there it was. So I think there's shame on the city from my perspective.
I think a lot of people would probably agree with you. We're going to take a quick break, folks. We'll be right back after this.
I am active.
I am beautiful.
I'm creative.
I am determined.
I am energetic.
I am focused.
I am goofy. I am hungry.
Close to 900,000 Canadians turn to food banks each month. 1/3 of them are children. These food banks turn to us, Food Banks Canada, for our nation's hungry.
Okay, guys, so if permaculture is going to spread in our city, clearly, people need to be educated. I'm wondering, has the Calgary Board of Education been approached to have students start planting gardens? I mean, it's a win-win. It just makes so much sense on so many levels. We have kids learning about biology, ecosystems, horticulture, and then enjoying the fruits of their labor. Why is that not a program? Has it been presented?
Yeah, in 2008, I went to the Calgary Board of Education. They used to have a format where at the beginning of the meetings, citizens could make presentations to the board. And I went back in 2009 to see where they were at, and nothing much had happened. I sat down with Pat Cochran, former chair of the CBE, a number of times. And I just think that mechanism is so cumbersome for moving something forward. I'm really excited that Trina Herdman was elected, because she's come
Trustee,
out to
wards
6 and 7. Trina Herman, and she's come out to to Grow Calgary with her family. Sheila Taylor, I know, has been trying. There's a few people that are trying. I think there's a new face at the CBE, and maybe we'll see some changes. But the irony of it is that kids can grow food in their classrooms, but they're not allowed to eat it.
It is ridiculous. Is that not ridiculous?
Well, almost a
Kim,
little
come
bit
on, you gotta weigh in.
ridiculous.
That sounds-
yeah,
you-
it is a
you
little
must think that's pretty
ridiculous.
silly.
I did want to make a point, though, that I think on a school-by-school basis, this is starting to be implemented in a really minor way, and it's just starting, like, the seeds are being planted. So there's a few different organizations. There's Puzzle Permaculture, two friends of mine that I went to school with taking permaculture design, started a company that they're going into the schools and doing programming. One of Luke's partner, Dave, is now hopefully going into the schools with a friend of ours, Mike, and then I'm also in the schools through a different organization called Learning Through the Arts, where I tell them permaculture is my art form, and I kind of weave it into the curriculum that we're teaching.
Yeah.
So it's happening on a smaller scale, and then of course with some of the alternative schools, like the Arts Academy and the Science Academy and Waldorf schools, they are all introducing gardens into their schools as well. I think it would be great if we could somehow, though, reach it at the CBE level with
At the core, right?
Yeah, at the core, and have it be something that is happening in all the schools and links with experiential learning too, and how valuable that is for students. Students now don't want to sit and watch their teacher in front of the chalkboard.
No, that's very true.
The CBE is one of our largest landholders. We're talking over 100,000 children in our school system, and that's where the change is going to come from.
From the ground up, like anything else, right?
Yeah, eventually they're going to inherit this planet, and so teaching them the tools and methods like urban agriculture and permaculture is, I think, incredibly valuable for our children.
Now, Leaf Ninjas is doing just that.
Yeah, we're getting out into the schools a little bit.
Well, you're not just doing the schools. Like, I want to hear more about Leaf Ninjas because it's fascinating to me. I mean, I understand it's a business. Just correct me where I'm going wrong here.
Sure.
But essentially what you guys do is you'll approach citizens, private homes, or they'll approach you, commercial spaces as well, I suppose.
Yeah.
You kind of let them know that you're going to plant a garden, you're going to harvest the garden, and they'll just maintain it, they water the garden type thing, and then they can reap some of the benefits. They have some of the fresh produce, some of it goes to sale, others donated.
We like on our urban farm, so in that aspect of our business, just in Inglewood and Ramsey. But I mean, we've had over 5 acres of land in just backyards all over the city.
I think we've got a shot of actually one of those backyards. We can take a quick look there.
So this is edible landscaping. This is a different approach.
That's
this is
by the way.
Yeah, we put a lot of time and energy into that project. That was probably one of our largest scale food forest installations.
A food forest installation.
Yeah.
So does that mean it's like self-sustaining?
Yeah, I mean, a food forest, like the approach is again, looking to nature, looking to the woodland ecosystem, and thinking how can we design our gardens to mimic that structure and that function. So how can they be lower maintenance and self-fertile, and then but also produce food. So yeah, that's
brilliant. I think that's
a good time.
Yeah, it really is.
It's
It's pretty cool. So how does that work then? Just look you up on the webpage if I want you to maybe utilize the space in my backyard, for example?
So again, two different approaches. Our urban farm, where we do things for free, is basically just for citizens in Inglewood and Ramsey.
Okay.
Where we're doing the farming, they don't have to do any work.
They won't even water it.
No, not even watering it. We set that up on automatic. For edible landscaping, we go through a consultation and design process like you would with any other landscaping company.
Okay.
But our approach is different. We think that through the permaculture design and the food forest approach, we can help people tap into so many more benefits from their landscape than as opposed to just an aesthetic garden.
But that's all it's been up to this point, essentially. It's been aesthetics. It's just like people in the front lawns, I suppose. Aesthetics. Is it growing? Are you guys busy? Are you doing a lot of development?
Absolutely. Yeah. We got on with our first commercial developer this year, so that's really exciting to see things happening at a bit larger scale now. Some co-housing projects and some really bigger residential projects as well. So
condominiums. Any business from a condo complex yet?
Yeah, could do, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, any space has a unique set of challenges and opportunities that can be worked with, for sure.
Like green roofs?
Yeah, green roofs,
is that right?
Balcony gardens, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's fascinating. It's cool. It sounds like, Calgary is embracing the movement.
Big time.
Slowly but surely, but it's coming, right?
Yeah, it's happening.
Weren't you involved with the downtown?
Yeah, we put in a garden on a rooftop in downtown. Downtown Food is a awesome restaurant down on 8th Street there. They grew a lot of food on their rooftop.
So that's kind of the way the shift's going, though, isn't it? I think Calgary diners kind of expect that. If you can go to a restaurant that's going to be serving local fare, especially produce, I think people are keen to do that.
Well, the economic argument's solid as well. Keeps the money in the community.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think too with GMO being it's like a hot
It's
topic
a big
right
topic.
now.
I think there's a lot of misinformation about GMO, but yes, it is definitely a hot topic.
And I think more people are really wanting to just understand, like, where does my food come from? And the best way to do that is to either grow it yourself or to support local, right? So come to the farmers market, or go to your neighbors, or shop at the, like, find your local farmer and go and buy a CSA, a community shared agriculture share from your local farmer.
Do you find also that it just doesn't, it's across the board. It doesn't matter who you are, it's people from all walks of life that are now motivated to try and do just that, to eat local?
Yeah.
How important is that to, I guess, the whole movement? It must be huge. The fact that it's not just, like, let's be honest, you heard the talk of, you've heard granola, you've heard terms like, hippie type thing. That's garbage. That is no longer the case whatsoever.
It's gone way beyond that at this point. Yeah, this is all walks of society, like you said, for sure. And I think that the local food avenue is one major avenue that gets people into thinking about these kinds of things. But it can come from many aspects, for sure.
Well, it's driven, and it's also driven by quality. Just the taste involved is something that's traveled for a week in the back of a tractor trailer, as opposed to something that was harvested that morning or the day before. I mean, it's a completely different taste experience.
What about these stores like, well, I won't name it, but there is some local, well, they're actually chain stores, what they are, selling organic produce at, frankly, a ridiculous rate. I mean, I can't help but think that maybe that's sort of, hurting local produce and, locally grown vegetables. I guess the point being is that it's turning people off. They just automatically assume it's going to be a pricey endeavor.
There's a reason for that. The industrial agricultural system is massively subsidized. There's a story that just came out about McDonald's, that the employees of McDonald's tap into the American safety net for $7 billion a year. Industrial agriculture is massively subsidized. If the organic side was subsidized as much, you'd have competitive pricing as well. But it's not.
I think it's also about asking questions too, and not being so stuck on that certified organic tip, because it is very expensive to become a certified organic farmer. Whereas, like, for example, at our farmers market in Inglewood and Ramsey, we didn't really have anyone that was certified organic, but everything was grown organically.
What's the difference, real quick?
I think that they have to come and do a bunch of different tests, and I don't know what that all.
Well,
is it bureaucracy? It sounds like it's bureaucracy.
Like, to a certain degree. Like, I worked for a farm, and part of the things I did for that farm over last winter was help them get certified organic. So I went through the whole process, at least the beginning stages of the process. And it is about quality control to a large degree. You have to really maintain your facilities in an accurate way, and your records and things like that, which is just good practice in general. I mean, myself as a farmer, I don't think it's necessary, because I grow on such a small scale that we can just distribute to the community, and people, we sell to our friends and family and people we know.
It sounds like one of your gardens, you're fairly confident that a tomato from your garden would hold up to a certified organic tomato, no issue.
Oh, absolutely. And there's a tool out there that you can use called a Brix meter. Basically, it's a refractometer, and it measures sugar levels in the plant, all sugars.
Quality tester is what it is.
Yeah, okay. And so the sugars, there's a direct correlation between them and the minerals and vitamins and the overall quality of this fruit or vegetable. So just a little squeeze of the juice, and then you can say that, this is a better quality, a higher nutrient density than this.
Which is important. I think it's important to realize that, those are of higher quality, or people are, potentially going to be misled. Urban foraging, I want to touch on real quick. What the heck is urban foraging? How does that work exactly?
Well, I'll jump on. There's a lot of things that are growing out there in the city right now that are edible. Whether it was
like what? For example, I've seen crab apple trees. What else?
Sea buckthorn is a big one. So this is a small yellow berry, or small orangish berry. Yeah. It's this beautiful silvery leaf. It's been planted as an aesthetic landscaping plant a lot, the male variety that doesn't bear fruit.
Okay.
But there's females out there bearing fruit of the sea buckthorn, and they're all over the city. And this is one of the highest sources of vitamin C of any fruit that we can get.
No way.
Yeah, it's a superfood.
It's a superfood, yeah. And it grows like crazy here.
So, okay.
And dandelions.
Yeah, there you go.
Dandelion salad.
Plantain.
Yeah.
It's like grows in people's lawns. Mushrooms.
As soon as you start to see it, it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Okay, so back alleys and front lawns, parks,
Yeah.
wherever. And
Yeah.
Back
there's
alleys
no-
are a hot spot for sure.
And there's no issue, there's no silly bylaw that says I can't just go pick this and enjoy it in my home or restaurant. I'm a restaurateur.
That I know of.
Not yet.
And if you're ever unsure, like we've gone door knocking where it's like, oh, maybe this tree belongs to this house. So then we
Yeah.
just knock on their door and politely ask, does this tree belong to you? And if
Yeah.
so, do you mind if we harvest some berries from it or whatever?
9 times
So-
out of 10, they'll probably go ahead, right?
Yeah, totally.
Well,
yeah.
and there's also just our fruit trees in the city. That a lot of that fruit goes to waste because people don't
Just let it drop.
harvest
Yeah.
it. And there is
Cool,
a project
cool.
in the
Yeah.
city to harvest.
Is that right?
Calgary
Yeah.
Urban
We'll touch on it
Harvest.
real
Urban
quick here.
harvest, yeah.
We're going to jump to a quick break, folks. We'll be right back. That's
The Arctic waters of northern Canada are home to the mysterious narwhal. Narwhals can hold their breath for up to 20 minutes and dive over a kilometer deep while feeding on fish and squid. Their tusk is an ivory tooth that grows up to 3 meters long on males. Narwhals sometimes travel in groups of several hundred, though small pods are more common. To learn more about narwhals, visit hww.ca. The killer whale or orca can be found in the oceans surrounding Canada. This intelligent mammal is at the top of the food chain. Already a species at risk, orcas are threatened by toxins found in what they eat. We need to keep our oceans clean if we want the killer whale to have a future. And that's just a start. To learn more about orcas and how you can help protect them, visit hww.ca.
all right, so Luke, and you can get you all to touch on it. In the winter months, I mean, clearly that affects, the permaculture, lifestyle movement, urban agriculture. What do you guys do during the winter?
Rest.
Yes, yes.
We Grow Calgary. We're going to be selling snow mulch to people. So as a
Snow mulch.
yeah, it's a special kind of mulch.
No. Nice. Pull the fast one. Slick.
Nice.
Yeah, it's
Clearly there must be some
definitely-
planning involved.
Definitely a time to rest, but also like for me, I'm an educator, so I actually am really working in the schools a lot more. So I, with the other program, the Learning Through the
Yeah.
Arts program, and then also teaching a lot of permaculture as well. So I have an upcoming design course starting. I teach in all 4 seasons so that people can really learn what it's like to go through a full year through the permaculture eye.
Yeah.
And then I also do a lot of introduction courses as well. And then prepping for next year. It's a lot more work than you realize, so it's kind of, you're always on a little bit, but it's definitely much busier in the spring and summer, so it's a little bit more rest.
One of the things that we could consider too is the energy waste that we have in the city that might be able to potentially power greenhousing. There's a massive amount of waste energy.
Yeah,
So
we haven't
to be
touched
able
on
to
greenhouses
capture
whatsoever,
some of that energy and then transfer that into growing in the winter months through greenhousing is, I think that's the next big thing that's going to happen in Calgary.
Is that something your
Totally.
business is maybe looking at a little bit?
And that's something that we do. We focus more on the land, the
Yeah,
soil, the
yeah.
rocks, the water systems.
To consider though, perhaps in the future.
Yeah, and I know there's people out there doing it. And if we ever had a client that wanted a greenhouse, I've got a handful of guys who I'd go to who would do a bang-up job.
That's bubbling under. I mean, that's the next thing we're going to
Because
see.
greenhouses, that seems like an easy fit for schools, doesn't it?
Sure.
Totally. There's also other really simple ways of extending your season, a month or 2 on either side. So there's not a photo of it, but at the area we just built these hoop houses out of willow bark, and willow is like a regenerative resource because you cut it and it grows back and
Right.
it's like a weed
Yeah.
and it's bendable. So we just made these big hoops that go over top of our garden. You cover them with plastic and then it can extend the season a little bit.
Smart.
And then cold frames too. So there's some simple ways.
Yeah.
They're like little mini greenhouses that are
Yeah.
lower cost, more affordable,
Natural,
but only
essentially.
extend for a month or 2. Yeah.
So what is the end game then? What's the future for permaculture, and what is the end game? And what are we hoping to see? Are we hoping to see all the lawns across the city, old
Well,
individual gardens? Is that the plan?
For me, I think it's basically that if you do want to do that, that you should be able to indulge in that, and that the city, has a considerable amount of sustainability policy
Yeah.
that needs to start to get implemented, so some of these things can happen for those citizens that want to participate.
Giving you the final word right there, Paul. Thanks everybody for joining us tonight. Always an informative discussion. You can keep the conversation going on Facebook as well as Twitter, and if you have a show topic you'd like us to discuss on the show, by all means, drop us a line. Thanks again. Take care.